Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Agent Box. My name is Sham Ghani, and with me, as always, is Abir. How you doing, Abir? You okay?
I'm all right. Yeah. It was my son's birthday last week, my birthday yesterday. So it was a
Yeah,
hectic week.
I saw that. What do you do for your birthday?
Nothing. We are.
Nothing. Oh,
I'm at that age. Birthday is just another day.
just another number. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it feels like,
and
man.
it's
I've
just
got
a
a
reminder that I am getting older. So not really a festive day.
well, you know what? You're as old as you feel, man. I'm telling you that. Okay. Um,
Well, true that.
I feel about 86 at the moment. So anyway, dude, let's
Yeah.
let's get cracking. Okay, so it's good to be back. Did we not have we had a missed session last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
yeah,
So you had some tech issues. I had some personal issues, so we had to skip that.
that was it. That was it, man. That was it. My computer blew up on me, so I needed to get hold of another computer.
I think it's just that you needed an excuse to get a new one. Your old one was working
Man, I
fine.
can't afford it. I can't afford it at the moment, man. So this is not a good thing, man. It was not a good thing. Let me tell you that. Anyway, guys, look, what we want to talk about today, right, is something that both Abir and I have been involved in over the last couple of weeks, at least, I think, which is sort of team training. We've got, this mastering employee training. I like the way the producer writes stuff. But actually, it's the key couple of words here is soft skills that I think, over the years, look, I've done so much agent training throughout my career, like every visit that I ever made to any trip, country, you meet with agents and then you end up doing agent training. But I think what universities are good at doing is doing a lot of product training, and maybe time is always a factor. You're in a rush, you're quickly trying to get as much information across to your agents as possible. So you tend to focus on product, on what it is that we offer. If there's any updates on what we offer. If it's a new agent, then the whole package of what we're offering. But the question, I guess, that we wanted to raise today is that something that is enough, okay, for an agency operating in country X, recruiting for, I don't know, let's say 20, 30 different universities? Is it enough for us to concentrate on the product, on how many courses a particular university has, which courses are good, which courses are easy to get onto, what the entry criteria is, what the scholarship is, what the accommodation cost is? So there's lots of information when it comes to the product. It's not just one thing. There's a huge amount of information that you as an agent need to understand, your team needs to understand. Is that enough? Armed with that information, is it enough for you, if you're working B2C, that you're able to then regurgitate that information or use that information to convince your students? Or if you're working on a B2B platform, is that enough for you to reach out to your agents and your channels and get them motivated to actually deliver students? Is that product knowledge going to be enough? That's the question. Abir, what's your thoughts?
I'm going to start by saying some controversial things. In my opinion, in my experience, I would even dare to say almost all the agencies do not have any provision for soft skills training. Maybe
The bold statement.
few top players, they have structured training materials that they have to learn that. Even with that, the ones that I have gone through, the majority of the portion is about product, which software you're going to use, how you're going to use it, how to go about on your day-to-day task, but not necessarily how to talk to your clients, how to approach them, how to build that rapport. So I personally feel there is a significant gap in our industry, especially where we do not talk about soft skills, whereas the most important skill in our industry, I would say, is that soft skills.
That's a good point, man. And look, I'm thinking back. I'm thinking back to all the training that I've done. I've done training for university staff, in-house training for my team. I've done training. I've been an external trainer for agent. Like at Boiler, my whole kind of relationship with Boiler started as a external trainer, right? So what Boiler, there's a particular training that they offer, which is called Agent 101. That is for new members of kind of new people to the sector, new international officers, new people coming into, sort of recruitment roles. How do they deal with agents? Okay. But also as an agent, I've done staff training. I've been involved in lots of different training. My take on this is quite it's quite natural for me, but when I reflect on it, it might not be natural for everybody, right? Which is that I like to do training based on story. Okay, scenario based training I find to be the most effective rather than product training. So even if I'm trying to talk about a particular product, then usually I will end up talking about a scenario. Does that make sense to you a bit? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I personally feel that's the most effective way of conducting any training, because when you talk that story, and you are not just making up that story, it is from your experience, what you have dealt with. And I'm going through the same journey that you have already went through. So
Mm,
if you just tell me some random like things, I would not be able to relate to that. But if you tell me in a story format and an experience that you have experienced over the time, then
mm,
I can relate. Oh, yeah, I was in a similar situation, but I would be in that similar situation. How do I handle that?
mm.
In
Do you know
fact,
what it is?
storytelling.
Yeah, go on, no, go on. I'll let you finish that. Go on.
No, no, I was just saying that even storytelling, it's just not in a training sense of reality. In every reality, for example, we talked a lot about the interview and everything. Everything, if you tell like a story,
Mm.
you are going to sell it.
Do you know?
By selling it, I mean you are going to get the attention of your listener or your client.
Do you know what you see in marketing, right? I came across a really fantastic woman who runs her own marketing company, and she is very keen to see people tell stories in their marketing. So I always associate that storytelling with marketing, right? That if I'm trying to sell an idea, I'm trying to sell a particular product or whatever it might be, then actually the storytelling approach works. And she said to me, human beings, we're built to tell stories and to hear stories. Okay, we've been doing it since the first human beings that appeared, before there was any social media, any internet, any computing. People, the tradition of oral storytelling is something that we as human beings are very, very, it's in our DNA. That was her argument anyway. And I really, really resonated with me from a marketing point of view. But what I've realized is actually that storytelling, even when it comes to training, is very important. But for people listening to this or watching this, what does that mean? What do you mean by storytelling? Okay. And I want to give a couple of examples. Look, and I'm gonna I'm gonna use examples from my own experience. One of the things I talked about earlier on this morning was this issue of I was representing a particular university that had a course in games design. Right now, games design is a subject that I guess somebody in my age, I don't fully necessarily understand it, but it can be one of those subjects that people get quite excited. Young kids get quite excited about games design. Oh, I'm going to be a gamer, but then we don't necessarily understand what it actually means. What are these kids actually going to learn on this course? What are they going to do? So I started a presentation at a few international schools earlier on this year, talking about Fortnite, the game. I asked a bunch of kids, do you play Fortnite? I guess my issue is that they didn't expect me to ask that question. They were expecting me to come out and deliver some kind of lecture on a particular university that I wanted to talk about. But when I started talking about Fortnite, and it just so happens that my son plays a lot of Fortnite, is addicted to Fortnite. I actually hate Fortnite. So I told them that story. I told them, look, I hate Fortnite. And they all started laughing. Everybody was laughing because they expect somebody of my age to kind of have that. I was telling them, oh, my son, he's addicted to this. It's a real, nightmare. But I knew as soon as I started this story, everybody in that room knows about Fortnite and they're aware about Fortnite. But
See,
that's not.
what you did there is very, very, very important here for all our colleagues who are listening to this. For any conversation or presentation, or however you want to put it, first few seconds is the most important bit, whether you are attracting their attention or not.
Mm.
And then you can talk whatever you want to. But that first
But you know what?
few.
You're probably right. You're probably right. And in a training context, when you're trying to train somebody to do something, grabbing their attention is because what you're doing is you're taking time out of their busy day to say, look, you've got to allow an hour and a half to go into training. And everybody's kind of like, oh my God, I ain't got time for this. I'm a busy guy. I've got busy stuff to do. The boss is on my back. I need to make money. Have I got time for training? Right. So yeah, you're right that you need to grab somebody's attention fairly quickly in that. But in this particular example, not only did I sort of talk about Fortnite, I went a level deeper, which I guess grabbed their attention even more. I started talking about skins. Now, I'm not going to get into this for those people who don't know, you don't know. But in Fortnite, there is a big thing about skins. Kids spend huge amounts of money buying skins in this game, right? That's how Fortnite makes their money, I think, is by selling these skins through something called V-Bucks, all right? V-Bucks, I think. Yeah, they call it.
V-Bucks, yeah.
Yeah. But the issue here is the reason I was telling them this story is because in the back of my mind, what I had was I wanted to introduce the university to them through a particular subject, and that subject was games design. And it just so happened that this particular university actually has got a link with Fortnite, with Epic Games, and their games design. So straight away now, these kids are willing to listen to me, right? And then I went on to talk about motorsport engineering, this, that, and the other. There were other things that we talked about. I've done this before, and look, colleagues that are joining me from, that might be listening to this from high-ranked Russell Group institutions or Red Brick institutions, please forgive me. But most of the time, I've always worked for post-92 universities, and there's always the issue of ranking. There's the issue of, how what rank are you? And it's something that, as a post-92 university, you don't want to necessarily focus in on that. But when I've done some training with staff, with agents, and all the rest of it, I've tried to put across. I could say that, okay, my university supports students. It's a very supportive environment. We are interested in sort of student placements, getting employability figures up, et cetera, et cetera, which, to be honest with you, most post-92 universities are going to be talking about. I used to start that conversation by talking about Indiana Jones. And I used to love it because people are like, what the hell is this guy going to talk about? It's like a stand-up comic, right? A stand-up comic starts a story at a point that you think, where's this guy going, right? But then the punchline really kind of makes you think, I get what he's saying. So I'd start a story about, Indiana Jones, and I'd ask a question, make a big deal out of, did everyone know Indiana Jones? Most people are like, yeah, of course I know. And then I'd ask, so what's his job? And people are sitting there going, well, Indiana Jones, his job is, he goes around the world collecting relics and all the rest of it. Da, 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 da. And I'd be like, no, you're wrong. His job was, he was a university lecturer. And then I'd tell a story about how I feel that demonstrates that a post-92 university, concentrates on students rather than being interested in research. But I don't want to insult any of my colleagues at any of the other universities by saying anything more than that on this. The point I'm trying to demonstrate is stories. Stories will lead, in my opinion, for someone in a training program to actually crystallize the concept that you're trying to train them about. But going back to the topic here about differentiating between product and then soft skills, okay, and then how to sell it. This is how I used to always say it, that we can do product training or we can do sales training. Now, in our sector, nobody likes to use the word sales because we are recruiters. So, okay, we could say product training.
Recruiting training.
Or recruitment training, yeah. Because how I recruit someone, it's not necessarily based on the product. The person I'm talking to doesn't understand the product in its true value for me to train them, right, about the product, and then for them to think, oh my good God, this is the best thing for me. Okay. They can't know because they're either an undergraduate, postgraduate, or whatever. They didn't write the course. They haven't spent time on my campus. They haven't spent time with the course leader. They don't know what the course is about. So for me to just regurgitate what this course is won't necessarily connect with that student to think, my God, I need a bit of this. They either need to hear about some guy or girl who did this course and now is a top-notch employee at, company X, or they need to understand how this course, has allowed somebody to go on to do a PhD. All of those alumni stories. The alumni stories will help them crystallize, okay, this course is good. But even before that, it's understanding how to talk to people. How many of us as agents talk to our staff about talking to people, train them about how to talk to people? This, I think, is at the heart of the conversation that we're having today. What do you think?
Absolutely, Bhaiya. And also, if I ask our agent colleagues, how many times do you listen from your colleagues? Oh, I cannot sell this product because it has high tuition fee, blah, blah, this, that, or that. If you ask me honestly, there is no bad product. It's
Mm,
about how you are placing them and if you're placing to the right person. I think we all heard that story. Like there was that one salesman on his first day, he sold 30,000 pounds or dollars worth of things. And the owner came, "Oh, you are a great superstar. Like, how did you manage to do that?" I was like, "Oh, the guy came to buy a toothbrush, but then I sold him this, that, and ended up selling him a car as well." Because he built that rapport and he knew how to talk to that particular person.
mm.
So
Do you
there
know
is
what,
no.
though, Abir, I'll tell you something
Mm,
though.
mm,
There might be agents listening to this and thinking, yeah,
mm,
this is all very nice. What you guys are
mm.
saying is all very good, right? But actually, I'm busy with applications. My staff are busy with applications. They're busy chasing offers. They're busy chasing deposits, CAS. There's so many different things that we've got to do. Where is the time to take time out and
And
talk
this
about
is the
people?
fundamental problem, Shampai. Our relationships is becoming transactional. You talk a lot about this. Even
Mm,
earlier this morning, we talked a lot about this. So yes, transactional relationships bring some sort of results, but are you bringing the best out of your team? Are
mm.
you optimizing your resources? That's the question we're asking here.
Do you know the other thing as well, right? See, what universities do, and I think lots of companies here in the UK, in the US, and other places, they do this all the time, right? Is they identify and track personality types within their company or organization. It's happened to me when I was in my previous job and even the job before that. Yeah, there's lots of different models that you can use about this, right? But the one that I've experienced is where they give you a color, right? You identify with a particular color. That color represents your personality, and there are certain traits that that color represents. Okay, and the reason the company does this is that it looks at its staff complement and tries to understand the personalities of each of their staff. Because if you have somebody who has the traits that are best placed for an administration role, and you put that person in a sales role, they're not going to be able to sell. Conversely, if you take somebody who would be good in a sales role and they applied for a job as an administrator, as somebody who's going to chase up CASs, for example, right? They applied for that job and you employed them, but they're no good. They're making mistakes. They're not, their attention to detail isn't there. And you're frustrated and irritated by your staff because you're like, well, they're not actually doing what they're supposed to do. But you don't know whether their personality trait was right for the role that they applied for. Just because they applied for that role doesn't necessarily make your company more efficient, like you're saying, right? You need to have the right people in the right job in order for you to gain efficiency. So it's possible that the people that have applied in your job for various different roles, if you did this mapping exercise, you might want to juggle stuff around. You might be able to, because I'm sure there are people in an organization, in agencies up and down the country, all over the world, that are sat there doing a particular job and they're looking at one of their colleagues and thinking, oh, I wish I could do that job. That job feels more like fun. I reckon I'd be good at that job. But they perhaps don't have an opportunity to go and do that job, or they don't feel that they can raise that in the organization. So they just sit back and they do their job and they're doing it mediocre at best. Okay. But actually, if you'd have identified that guy's personality and you put them into that other role, they could have really made you a lot of money. They could have been really
Mm.
efficient and actually increase your. So
I
it's.
think that's something our top management misses. The
Mm,
point a lot of times in my experience, because we hire the people, but we don't know what they are good at. How I
mm,
can utilize him or optimize his resources in the best manner.
mm. So you got, somebody like, look, I'll be the first person to admit this.
Mm,
Somebody like me, if I, because I'm looking for a job, right? I don't have a job right now. I'm looking for a job. I see a job in an agency as, I don't know, student counselor applications or whatever it is. And I kind of think to myself, oh yeah, that'll be all right. It's a job. I need a job. Let me apply. And I get the job because I'm good at talking. I get the job, right? And then I find myself in a job where I am just processing applications or I'm chasing applications. Now, I've worked with people in admissions teams at the universities, admissions teams in agencies who are brilliant at that job and they love what they do and they are very good. They are so sharp when it comes to applications and processing applications. They're really, really, kind of switched on when it comes to that. But you put me in that kind of a job, I'm going to mess it up. I
But the
know.
same goes with me, Shamai, to be honest. Like if I'm tied to like a 9 to 5 days job, yes, I could get it done, but I would not enjoy it and I would not like flourish and progress
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do it like happily.
Whereas equally, you know what? Like, sometimes I've come across this at the universities quite a lot. Where you, if you're in a recruitment role rather than in an admissions role, you're always traveling. Recruiters from the UK, international recruiters, they're always traveling around the world. They're doing this, doing that, and there are people in other departments that look at you and think, "Oh, wow, that looks like so much fun. I wish I could do that." What I've done over the years, and organizations where I've worked, my bosses, directors, managers, whatever, heads of, have suggested that you take one of your admissions colleagues on a particular trip. Abir, let me tell you this, right? Every time I've done that, the admissions person has come back. Either one of two things has happened. Either they've decided, right, what the job that I'm doing is definitely not for me. This is the job that I need to take. But more often than not, they'll come back and say, oh my God, I never want to do that again. Because what they thought the job was, that when you're stood for 10 hours a day talking to students non-stop, you're talking, okay, and you're saying more or less the same thing but in different ways. You're engaging with people in different ways, fast. It's exhausting. Okay, a lot of people
That
are like,
sounds like a perfect day for me.
well, this is it. For me, that makes me thrive. For me, that makes me thrive. Look, we're off to Berlin, next Friday. We've got 2 or 3 days of quite intense, kind of sessions in any agency that's been to the ISEF Berlin event knows how busy that event is, and it can feel, to the person who's not used to that, who doesn't enjoy that, it can feel overwhelming because you're there. Your whole job for 48 hours or more is to talk, and it doesn't end. It doesn't end in the evening. In the evening, they've got events where you've got to talk even more. Now you need the right kind of person to be in those situations, who has the soft skills to network, and those same skills can help an agency really flourish in their market. Because if they've got the right people in the right job with the right training, when they're talking to a student, they can connect with that student straight away. They can start to kind of really tease out the best possible course, the best possible university, and the application is then clean. The application is clean, and the student is engaged, and that student then wants to work with you. When you're asking them for this document or that document, they are sending it to you straight away. You're not chasing, they're not ghosting you, because they're engaged with you as an individual. And the same goes for if you're B2B and you're working with a bunch of agents that you're trying to motivate to really kind of get business through the door. If you can connect, if you've got those skills and the right personality to connect with those agents and really come across as the expert, really come across as a knowledgeable, you take control, you have authority, in the way that you speak, the stuff that you're saying, those agents are going to be putty in your hands. Those agents are going to be like, yep, we want to talk to him. We want to talk to her. We want her to basically, tell us which are the best options to send, best university options to send applications.
I know a few agents across the globe that worships you.
Come on, man. Yeah. All right. I'm not even gonna play ball. You know what I mean?
We actually have a couple of interesting comments coming through. So one of our viewers has asked, when it comes to soft skills, how important do you think it is for employees to take personal responsibility for developing these skills to stay prepared for future challenges?
I think. Look, I mean, that's an interesting question there, right? That how much responsibility does the organization have? How much responsibility does an individual have? That depends on personality. I think the individual responsibility. Do they recognize? Excuse me. Do they recognize that they need to kind of develop those skills, right? Because look, if I don't have those skills and I don't have that personality, the result is that I'm not performing. I'm finding it hard to get applications in. Once I do get an application in, the student doesn't want to respond, doesn't want to react. I can't convert that student. I don't know. It just seems like an uphill. I'm shoving water up a hill. It's just too hard. At that point, you would expect that employee to think, actually, hang on a minute, there's a problem here. Either I'm not getting what it is that I'm supposed to be doing because I'm looking across the desk and I've got another colleague and they're doing much better than I am. Then what's the problem here? Okay. If somebody has that ability, then yes, they will take that responsibility. And maybe they will come forward to the organization and say, you know what, I think I need some training. But I tell you this, as organizations, we should encourage reflection. We should, as an organization, doesn't matter how big or how small that organization is. If we're an agency, at certain points of the year, we should bring our teams together and sit down and say, right, what did we do well? What did we do badly? And what is going on here? Encourage people to talk about their experiences. As a company leader, as a boss, you're not close to the action. You're not in the room necessarily when that your staff member's talking to a student or your staff member's talking to an agent. So you don't know what was said, how it was said, was it said in the right way. Let's encourage these people to talk and give some examples, tell their stories about what's going on. But Abir, as an agency boss, do I have those skills? You understand? Let's not assume that I, as an agency boss, I could be a very good businessman, which is why I've set up the company and I've set up an agency and I've spotted a gap in my market, and this is a way that I can make some money. And it's a good line of business. But does that automatically mean that I have the skills, the soft skills required to be able to do that kind of work, to be able to connect with people?
I think there is a difference between business savvy and having those soft skills.
Exactly.
Someone could be having great technical knowledge, know how to run a business and whatnot, but they might not have that man management or soft skills that is required.
Emotional intelligence, man. I tell you, in our business,
that's the word. That's the word.
Emotional intelligence is critical for you to be able to do well in our business. Look at somebody like Elon Musk, absolute fantastic strategist, brilliant businessman, but apparently he lacks emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So you can argue, then how's he gone? How's he done so well? I bet you he's got a team of people around him who understand emotional intelligence far better than he does. So he probably recognizes that that is a problem within him. So he brings in people who actually have those skills to help. And that is a big thing, being able to reflect on yourself and say, as a company bosses tend to have big egos. That's why they're the boss. Okay. It's a big deal to be able to sit and reflect and think about, okay, what are my lackings? Here I am leading a team of people for an outcome that's going to benefit me. Do I have the skills to actually lead them? Or do I need to bring in other people that will have the right skill set to actually, train, my team? Look, Jesus, man, it's 28 minutes in. I can't believe that. Again, with most of these kind of topics that Abir and I talk about, we just want to start a conversation. We're never going to be able to have these conversations in half an hour, 20 minutes. It's starting a conversation. It's getting people to talk about it. We are the agent box. We want to be able to raise stuff on behalf of agents, talk about things that we think agencies need to talk about, they need to address. So the next time you have, a delegate coming in from the UK or from overseas, from Australia, Canada, wherever it might be, into your office doing training, think about what training they're going to do. Are they just going to do product training, or do you want them to do some recruitment or sales training? That could be the first step. That could be something that you could action tomorrow morning. But with that said, guys, Agent Box comes to you every week. We're able to do this because of SAM CRM. SAM CRM is a CRM solution that's been designed by agents for agents. And in fact, next Friday in Berlin, we're going to be doing, next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing in Berlin. But SAM CRM, we're looking forward to kind of promoting that in Berlin, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. Go and have a look at their website, samcrm.co.uk, or send them an email to sales@samcrm.co.uk, and you can find out a little bit more. All of these things, inquiries are always non-obligation. Do you know what I mean? Just because you made an inquiry doesn't mean that you need to buy anything from these guys, but it's worth looking into that. Part of your training your team and getting more efficient is making sure that you have systems in place that actually enable you to do that. Meanwhile, look, that's it from us at the Agent Box. If you want to get in touch with us, we do come live every Thursday. We try and come live every Thursday at 11 o'clock UK time. But you can always, catch up on these things on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other platforms. You can go on our website and you can have a look at previous episodes. Our website is www.agentbox.co.uk. So go and have a look. Head over to the website. You'll find previous episodes you can download. But also, if you want to get in touch and you want to actually talk about stuff here, join us, or just want us to talk about it, then get in touch with us. We've got an email address, which is theagentbox@gmail.com. And we've got a phone number down there as well, so you can WhatsApp us with any messages or comments. That's it from me and Abir. Till next week, on the eve of flying off to Berlin. We'll see you in a week's time. Take care, folks.
Take care.